music is always so wonderful for us. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, who's soon to be officially our minister, Miss RevRobynPlante.
Thank you. It's great to see all of you here today. I think we're going to need some more chairs. Yeah. Thank you for showing up and bringing your love and your generous spirit to co-create this time together of remembering the truth of who we are. I saw a cartoon this week, and it was a picture of this family at a Thanksgiving table eating dinner, and they had the turkey and all the trimmings. And at the window outside, Santa Claus was waving. And the caption read, "Can we please finish dinner first?" So we head into the holiday season, and I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. You know, is that true for anybody else? Yes. You know, we get to celebrate the harvest of our lives and enjoy connecting with our friends, old and new, with our family. We get to enjoy that special food and just bask in the warmth of holiday traditions. So I thank all of you who are already thinking about what to cook for next week's holiday potluck. And I will be with you in spirit. I had a previous engagement, but you'll be in good hands with Reverend Kathy Carver. And I will be back December 1st to officially start our journey together. I'm so excited about this, and our Advent season as well. So come on back next week and the week after, and all the weeks after that, yes. So we've been exploring community and ways to build it, to nurture it, to enrich it through friendship, through prayer. And today we're going to talk about the magic of generosity. How many of you consider yourself to be a generous person? Oh, quite a few. And those who aren't raising their hands, how many are you a modest person? The quality of generosity is when we give and we don't expect anything in return, that unconditional giving. And often giving more than expected, too. And we know how good that feels to give, and how good that feels to be on the receiving end of somebody joyfully giving. And did you know that we are born givers? We were born that way. We came into this world freely sharing our love, our presence, our joy, creating and expanding, and ever moving into a greater, freer, full expression of that divine life within us. We can't help it. We were made that way. Made in the image and likeness of the one who gives life. And deep down there's something in us that knows that remembers that, and is always leaning toward that true north that some might call the kingdom of heaven, or heaven on earth. That invisible place of home. And sometimes visible. This week I was blessed to spend a day in the kingdom of heaven on earth with my 1-year-old grandson. And we laugh, we sing, we play. And driving home, I realized that he was smiling most of the day. Most of the day. And of course, he has no sense of time, so he's just playing and exploring and moving, kind of doing his own version of eat, pray, love. But he knows he's loved. And he trusts that all his needs will be met and that he will be treated with care and kindness. And when his needs aren't met, he asks, seeks, and knocks in a way that cannot be ignored. He was born that way. And so are we. So are we. But do we sometimes forget? You know, we have that capacity to give lavishly and freely, especially when tough things happen in life, you know, the loss, the disappointment, the divorce, the death, the disillusionment, disappointment. When our lives don't seem to make sense, or the world doesn't seem to make sense, we can be tempted to kind of shut down or pull back or check out. But we come here to check in, to remember that circumstances are temporary, that this too shall pass. And what is everlasting, what is eternal, is our true divine nature that is unconquerable. Our true divine nature. And we can trust in that one true source to provide our every need. Times when I've gotten fearful, I have to remind myself, and we can remind ourselves, that we've gotten this far, right? All of our needs have been provided. All of these years, all of these decades. So why not lean into that assurance that we have a generous God. We have already been blessed. And all of our needs will be met, are met and will be met. And when we're grateful for these blessings we've already received, it's easier to give, isn't it? Blair kind of mentioned that with the song. It's when we're feeling grateful, we naturally want to share that and give. It's easy to re-gift the blessing of God when we're grateful. So the magic of generosity is, it's contagious. It's contagious. Whether we're giving, receiving, or witnessing an act of giving, we're participating in that spiritual law of circulation that keeps God's good flowing. So the magic of generosity, it's a multiplier of good. It's a dissolver of resistance. And it's a builder of bridges, heart to heart. Not just with people, but in our own hearts. Expanding that awareness that our human heart is one with the generous heart of God. And accessing this power, as Jesus said, we can do great things. We can do great things if we're willing. That's the key, isn't it? We have to be willing. There's a great book by Paul Bourne who talks about building community in chaotic times. And he says, if you really want to make a difference in the world, bring your neighbor chicken soup. That sounds easy, right? But there's a little more to it than just showing up at their door with the soup. You have to know them. Do they even like chicken soup? Are they vegetarian? Are they home or on vacation? How big is the family? Is it one person you're going to bring a bowl of soup to, or a large family you bring a big pot of soup? So even knowing all of this, we have to feel moved to want to do this, to go to the store, to buy the ingredients, to prep it, to have it cooking in our kitchen, to take the time it takes to make it, and make it a priority among all the other demands on our time and attention. So building community through generosity takes time, it takes energy, and a heart's desire to connect beyond our comfort zone. Now, how many times do we willingly get out of our comfort zone? That's where we challenge ourselves, right? To grow, to, even when it's scary, to try something new or to give in a new way. So what gets in the way of us giving freely? Maybe fear of being rejected, fear we won't have enough. Or maybe we have no problem giving, but receiving is really difficult. Is anybody in that boat? My mom was like that. When I visited, if I wanted to give her something, I had to leave it in the bathroom. So I would be down the road by the time she went in the bathroom and found it. Otherwise, she'd give it back to me. I said, oh, no, I can't take that. But I want to give. She got wise after a while, so I had to find a new hiding spot. But as givers, this is something we can, overlook, that this is an important aspect of the wheel of life and a law of circulation, that we need both giving and receiving. We need to give and to receive for that flow of good to happen. And that flow of prosperity is always seeking to enlarge itself in you and in your life. Do you know that? Well, here's what happened. Okay, there's the chicken soup. We'll go back to that for a minute. So here's what happened to two high school football teams that met on a field of possibility. The night of the game, the home team got there early. The players, the coaches, the students, the parents, and they formed a spirit line where when the visitors got off the bus, they were met with cheers and applause and fist bumps and high fives as they went through the spirit line of this community to the field. And then, after the game began, on the visitor side of the bleachers, over 100 home team people sat and cheered for them, for the visitors. And in front of them, some of the home team cheerleaders started doing their flips and cheers for the visitors. Now, do we have any former football players out there or cheerleaders? How likely is this to happen at a game? But this continued to happen throughout the game. This community kept cheering for the visitors. And what makes this so extraordinary is that this visiting team was from a maximum security correctional facility 75 miles away. And every game they play is on the road. And though only the boys who are on good behavior got to play, they were escorted to and from the bus by a group of correctional officers with handcuffs at the ready. These players were used to being received with fear and wariness. no fans, no parents ever showed up, and they certainly never had any cheerleaders. But here was this whole community showing up for them. So how did this happen? How does something like this happen? Well, one of the home team coaches, Coach Hogan, was feeling grateful and blessed. His team was having a successful season. There were so many parents involved. They had numerous coaches, and they had the state-of-the-art equipment. Well, this team, he knew that was coming, played with cracked helmets, really old equipment, no parental support, and they had lost every game. So the spirit of generosity tapped Coach Hogan, just like the spirit of generosity will tap you. Sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes it's inconvenient, but it's persistent. It's persistent. So the spirit of generosity tapped him, and this idea came to him. He thought, what if half of our fans, for one night only, cheered for the other team? So he sent out an email to the whole school community with this request. Can you imagine the courage that must have taken to send this to hundreds of people, asking them to do something they had never done before? And do we sometimes hold back from giving in a new way or a big way because we're afraid of, being judged or criticized, or somebody saying, oh, that's crazy, that'll never work? But Coach Hogan persisted. And he got some pushback from his players, too. It was hard for a lot of them. And you can imagine that conversation, right? Like, oh, those guys messed up. They don't deserve it. I'm not being nice to them. You can imagine that. And is that the same voice that chews in our ear sometimes when we say, no, I'm not going to pray for that person, and keep someone out of our prayers or good wishes. This kind of thinking. But the spirit of generosity persisted, and Coach Hogan told his players, imagine if you didn't have a home life. Imagine if everyone had pretty much given up on you. Now, imagine what it would mean for hundreds of people to suddenly believe in you. That power of imagination inspired those boys. And Coach Hogan and his team and the whole community came out and created a field of joy. And after the game, many of the players on both sides were in tears. They had never experienced that much giving or that much support. And as the visitors walked to their bus under guard, they were given a goodie bag that had snacks, a Bible, and an encouraging letter from one of the home team players. And as the visiting coach, before he stepped on the bus, he told Coach Hogan, you'll never know what your people did for those boys tonight. You'll never know. Sometimes we never know how far kindness goes or generosity goes, but we can imagine it being contagious and rippling out. So these two communities are forever connected in a way that might defy human logic, but makes perfect spiritual sense. When we're asked to give in a big way, It may defy human logic, but makes perfect spiritual sense. We hear stories on the news, more often than we'd like to, about someone falling into a pit of despair and getting lost in anger, loneliness, fear, separation, and acting in violent or hurtful ways. But what if one act of generosity is all it takes to bring someone back from the edge? To let them know someone cares and they're not alone. We each have the power to be generous, to bring life, to bring light, to bring hope. So I love this football story because it's a great example of generosity's ability to multiply the good, to dissolve boundaries, and to build those bridges heart to heart. And, sometimes we can know all this and still resist, right, in giving. And if, like Jonah, we try to run from being the light, especially to those we think who don't deserve it, guess what? We'll get another opportunity. So one question we can ask ourselves and maybe meditate on this week is, in what way is generosity nudging me out of my comfort zone? How am I being asked to give in a greater way? We know that nudge of spirit. We can ignore it, but it will keep nudging, keep tapping. And when we say yes, miracles can happen. I love this from Proverbs 11:25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. When we give freely, we always have more. Because we can't outgive God. Yeah, can't outgive God. So in the spirit of great gratitude, let us close with prayer. Mother, Father, God, loving presence, creator of all, we are so grateful for this time together, for the generosity present in this room and in this community. And one with the heart of God, we celebrate the flow of love and substance that has created this ministry and continues to expand its life, its vibrancy and joy. And may we go forth this week as a person of increase, to be the place where generosity and gratitude show up to expand the love, the healing, the joy, and the peace within us and within our world. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. you.